think that's a big pickup, especially for control maps. I think he'll help them out a lot there. He's very, very proficient with the Lucio. We already saw yesterday how he was getting a lot of those boop kills, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more from him in regards of the support play, but in particular on control maps, I think he's going to help them out a lot. Now, both of these teams both played Eagle Gaming yesterday. I think that, you know, we didn't really get to see the full strength because Eagle Gaming was just, I mean, I don't know. They just seemed a little weak yesterday, wouldn't you say?
Especially when it came to facing Angry Titans, they just looked defeated before the offensive round for Angry Titans even really started on Lunar Horizon Colony. So I really want to see more out of them. I definitely expect Eagle Gaming as the tournament progresses to really pick themselves up and have an overall better performance. But now that we're going to move on to this first round, looking at the compositions, I wouldn't say anything too unexpected here, X.
Yeah, nothing too crazy, although the one thing that I think is important to note is actually the fact that we are seeing Chubbs on a Reinhardt. More often than not, you'll see an Orisa in this particular position because he can control the payload, have that refreshable shield. Now Chubbs is going to be popping up with a lot of openings and stuff. When the shield gets low, the pressure is definitely going to be in favor of the defense here, as we are going to be seeing Angry Titans able to just rip that shield apart very easily with the Orisa. We see the Roadhog, we see the Junkrat. I mean, it's really going to put a lot of pressure on Chubbs here on the Reinhardt.
When already with the pick off onto the side is going to make Angry Titans have a potential good hold as Urki once again popping off on that Junkrat, getting the kill onto Poppy Fresh rather, and this will force out a reset, make sure the rest of Piece of Cake regroup, and already Angry Titans looking good.
Now on top of this, it's also important to note that we've seen both of these teams, really the only teams that have been able to you know, be seen against a quad tank setup, which is certainly possible to see in a map like Junkerton and even going forward onto a control map or 2CP. Both teams look very solid. Their projectile DPS players really taking advantage of the fact that they were able to get off a lot of damage, get huge ult charge. We saw it both from Urki and Naga. We'll have to see if we may see that going forward. It's hard to say, but so far right now it looks like Chubbs is sticking to this Reinhardt. They're still going with that same composition as they're looking to surge forward, and that barrier is really taking a huge hit so far.
But when Urki is going to pop out the Reptile, but
there we go.
You're going to need a quick pause. Hopefully nothing too bad in terms of issues, but the Riptire asset is ready to roll out, and overall just looking at the comps, looking at those ult advantages being built up, it is looking mighty fine for Angry Titans. They have Lude close to that Valkyrie. Aafox still quite a few distance away, but Marine Lord having picked up that Ana, who do you expect him to really go in terms of that damage or nano boost? Would it be the Chubbs on that front line to just give him that extra push-up, or for Krems, or something in the likes of a DPS instead?
Well, it's hard to say. I think they might want to enable Chubbs here, and I think that's where it's probably going to be going. It could go to Naga, as they're going to have a lot of damage to just rip down that shield and just push forward with him. So I would say it's probably going to be either of those two, but I still don't really like it because they are still opting for Poppy Fresh, and what you can do is still use those discords on the Zenyatta to just make that Widow even more lethal. They're still going to surge forward, though, as we do see that nano boost going on to Chubbs. He's still taking a lot of damage, though.
And even with that damage being taken up, Lude does manage to get both of his teammates back up on his feet, but Aafox gonna go transcend as Lude actually picks up a kill onto Poppy Fresh there, but the resurrect from Dridro is gonna equalize it just a little bit here, and it's still an all-out brawl on the objective.
Transcendence that they're ready for Aafox as well. Poppy Fresh coming around the side, tried to get an angle onto Onigod and does actually find the kill somehow, some way, but Urki says he's gonna cancel that out. Finds the kill onto the opposing Widow, and now they're looking to just continue holding Lulzish under fire at the moment. Going to force the Transcendence out from Aafox as they're looking to try to now put the pressure onto Chubbs, who again gets the nano boost. But look at this, 1:30 left on the time bank right now, and they really got halted for quite some time as Poppy Fresh finally getting those picks that they need to start pushing this payload forward.
And we've talked about how rare usually it is to see teams achieve a full hold on first point defense Junkertown, but so far looking at Poppy Fresh though, picks up another kill onto Onigod this time around. Didro, I gotta say, he got like 3 kills yesterday. He still keeps it up with another one onto Aafox. Elivo trying to delay the inevitable as they will eventually get that payload rolling on that first checkpoint.
And they're keeping the Reinhardt here, and this is important to take note of because really it's going to come down to Crims and Poppy Fresh, who Poppy Fresh almost got killed off there by Onigod on the Tracer, but it's really going to come down to those guys to just de-nest that high ground threat that is going to be Orisa with the shield. So you can't really rely on Poppy Fresh there as much as you really want to because he's going to be denied the sight line from that shield, and Chubbs can't get up there with the Winston to displace them. So it's going to be very difficult. They're going to have to put a lot of pressure via Naga and Crims, and I don't really know if that's enough.
Oh, and even with the Resurrect coming through by Naga, Riptire is gonna still be there. He gets both of them this time. Both the Mercy as well as Naga, and Elivote picking up Chubbs. Poppy Fresh finally being taken down by Onigod means that's gonna be another good defense here for the side of Angry Titans. And I gotta say, we've seen a bunch of those Junkrat duels, if you will, with the likes of Naga and Crew yesterday. And we see more of them right now, always exceptional. And now that Lude still having that Valkyrie as well as Dridro, he will look to have a potential advantage coming into this one as they still have a hold of that high ground.
We also saw the Winston swap coming out as well as Naga making a little bit of a swap over to the Genji. So this is going to be a more traditional dive. Green Lord, of course, has been on that Zen for quite some time. I would have liked to see this swap happen a little bit sooner because they could have gotten aggressive like we're seeing right now on screen. But look at that denial as Chubbs almost found the kill there. Onto A-Fox, he pulls back and a lot of damage going his way. He gets res back up. They're looking to try to take him down again. He's very low. A-Fox taken down pretty low, but Lolzish finds the kill.
And now even with Lude coming back in, gets Elivote back on his 2 feet. He does have the whole hog at already. Pops it right away. Transcendence coming out of A-Fox as well. And they still have a point of this payload somehow, some way. They might still defend it. Popperfish contesting A-Fox though, as Onigod manages to pick up Marine Lord in the end. And still, it's an all-out brawl on the objective.
And beautiful isolation, their ability to just pull them off to the side. Both Chubbs and Crims were just forced into that side building where really they had no help from their support. And we saw everybody just looking at them from Angry Titans where, you know, they were able to just push all their damage into it, found a couple kills on Chubbs. I think Chubbs died 3 times in that fight alone, just getting rezzed back up off the Valk as well. So now on defense here, looks like Angry Titans just trying to buy time for this Junkrat tire where Urki is getting a lot of pressure, but they're looking for him here, aren't they?
And they have a lot of ultimates to work with, at least on the side of Piece of Cake. But Popperfish being taken down will force Ridger to go in, use that Resurrect. No more resource available in that regard for now. But Krem's picking up Elivote as well. Might turn things around. Urki though with the Reptire. This might be what they need. They find only Chubbs once again forced onto that side room. As you said, it's not really going to pay off as they're going to collapse onto the payload and push them away. And with 35 seconds remaining, this is looking really bad for Piece of Cake.
That was such a fortunate situation for Urki to be in. He pulls the Riptire out. Crims and Chubbs jump on him, but they weren't quick enough. They weren't lethal enough in that instant when they jumped down after Naga found that opening kill at least, and then Urki got rezzed up, and they wound up losing both their tanks to a single Riptire, and that's devastating when you need this now.
And Urki picking up Naga there once again is not going to be what they're looking for. Jidro picks him back up with the Resurrect. No more of that resource available for now, but soon will be available with the Valkyrie. Now that we're kicking it into overtime, Elivo trying to push them away with the whole hog. Doesn't do too much, but A-Fox being taken down will finally get resurrected. It's still somewhat of an equal fight as the Orisa Shield is going to keep that Roadhog alive. And now a Transcendence coming out of A-Fox. This might be enough. Piece of Cake might be pushed away.
And look at the damage as well. A-Fox goes down, but they should be able to close this one out. A nice hook coming out from Elivote. Overtime is really just pushing along. We see the Diva coming down pretty low as well as Poppy Fresh trying to stay alive. The bomb goes out. He finds the kill onto the Orisa, but still, there's just too many people here from Angry Titans, and they look to make the hold. Genji is here, not going to be able to make it down from the sky quick enough, and that will be a solid defense from Angry Titans.
And already rather looking unstoppable for now as they almost managed to get a full hold on that first point. And it seems like for the most part, they just couldn't build a composition to really deal with the defensive line and with those tanks because Elivote and Lulzish really working well together around the Orisa Shield. And we've heard a bunch of players also talk in recent history that Roadhog now with Orisa being more popular, really gets somewhat enabled by those shields.
I'm curious to see what we're going to see defensively now because, you know, before we saw on this particular map, Chubbs was really liking that Reinhardt, and I am going to throw it out there. I do not like Reinhardt right now in like almost all situations. It just feels like Orisa more often than not is a better pick, especially given the ability to just, you know, play off of the Roadhog a lot as well. You can just suck them in, get a free hook almost every single time. So I think it's definitely pretty strong. The only time, and this is where I think they save themselves for me in my eyes, that I think it's worthwhile to take, and where I think it's actually pretty strong, is when you enable it via a 4-tank or 3-tank strat, and that's what they're bringing out. I brought up the point beforehand that these two teams are the only two teams that we've seen up against the 4-tank strat so far. We've seen Erky able to deal with it. We've seen Naga able to deal with it, and so far it really kind of hasn't worked, other than when it worked against Eagle Gaming, who again kind of had a little bit of a disappointing day one, I would say. So now they're going to be pulling it out defensively here, and it looks like they're just going to sneak around to that front door and maybe try to surprise them on that first attack before Onigod gets set up on the payload.
And Erky, I would definitely expect him to make a potential swap at the very least eventually to the Junkrat once he gets spotted, but spots all of them with the Sonic Arrow already planned, foiled by that pesky Hanzo yet again, as Erky will continuously spam over onto the enemy position. Doesn't get anything done just yet, but again, just with that Sonic Arrow low, it could be great, but they're trying to collapse onto the point.
Lilzish needs to get some protection over to the Bastion. He's taking a lot of damage now. He gets killed off. Chubbs goes off the side for the kill. And now it looks like they're just trying to stabilize. Naga taking a little bit of pressure, but holding down the fort quite well as Elevote gets pulled across and now into the front of all of these tanks. And they're very fast. Remember, they do have that Lucio to provide the speed boost. And now it's up to these snipers to start making some picks, start making some plays, find this damage, start killing these guys off. And as soon as you start snowballing against a comp like this, it's very easy to just continue that pressure and move that momentum along to a first point take.
And it's really interesting to see the likes of Avox actually pick up that Widowmaker and come through, making it so far a pretty successful push. Erky rapidly approaching that Dragon Strike, and since most of the defensive team is going to be clumped up, that might do a lot of damage. Avox, though, picks up Jojo to start out the next fight.
And what they're doing is just creating so many angles of threat now that these tanks they just can't deal with it. A nice Pulse Bomb somehow doesn't find the kill onto Marine Lord. Very, very close to him, so I'm surprised that didn't happen. Baby Diva now Crim's under fire as well from Onigod. Angry Titans are cleaning this up. They're about to capture this first point. They're going to have just under 5 minutes after that team kill to just push their way. They only have to get to that second objective point. It's right before that turn-in, but it will be, I don't know. They just have so much time here, Brunch.
And so much to work with as well. Lude, good to go with the Valkyrie if need be. The extra damage boost coming out of Lilzish as well could be great. And I would have expected Erky potentially right now to make the swap over from the Hanzo, but considering he already has 67% built up on that ult charge, might pay dividends. But now that the rest of the red team over on the defensive side for Piece of Cake rather are going to try to collapse on that front line, will force at the very least the Valk, but Avox still finds another support. He gets both of them.
Using that Valk right there was so pivotal. Ludi was very smart to do that because the Grav was out. I mean, it was ready rather. The Grav was being held on by Popey Fresh. He was staring up and down, trying to make sure that Ludi, if he ever came down and was in range of that Grav, he was going to grab him up. But Ludi was just like, nah, I don't want to be a part of that at all. He Valked up, even though it wasn't entirely necessary, and stayed away from that threat. Now he has to try to do that again, and that's not going to really happen. The Grav comes out. I don't know if... Oh, it actually did get Ludi kind of late, though.
And the kill is not going to happen. Finally does so, and they might have just done it. They still can hold. Avox picks up one at the very least, but that is going to be it. And with 2 meters remaining, they somehow get a team kill, but Piece of Cake, they have to pull out a Herculean effort to really hold this team right now with 3 minutes and 18 seconds remaining.
Now going over to that dive. And Onigod was already on the Tracer, so not really a big swap for these guys outside of those 3. And now, because it's so close, oh, this is a big opportunity here for Onigod. He's got that Lucio very low, and he's on the payload. He's going to force everybody down onto that low ground. A huge Earthshatter coming out actually from Chubbs as he pins that tank down there, but the pressure is on the Diva. If that Diva goes down, Chubbs will too.
And now Krem's popping out the self-destruct, needs to get the read, so they need to still contest this payload. Remember, it's oh so close to that objective. Even Sound Barrier coming finally back up from the side of Dridger was gonna keep his teammates safe for a while longer. Erky picks up Marine Lord, but still, Poppy Fresh finding that return kill onto Onigod is gonna be good. And this is where this team really shines. It's in the counter dive, and now that we see Angry Titans being forced into that particular compositions, it's where they can at the very least somehow recover, and it's looking better and better so far.
I think once we see some ultimates being built up here, particularly the Transcendence and that Genji Blade, I think that's going to be a big opportunity here because we're still not seeing that Mercy being played by Piece of Cake. They're still playing those two supports. So as picks happen and as they occur with the Blade coming out as well, when he's covered by a Transcendence, which will happen soon as well, they just won't be able to surge back into this fight. And just like that, a team wipe is all it takes. They don't even need to worry about having that Mercy. And that's going to be that. Angry Titans taking the first map with ease.
Oh man, that was definitely much more one-sided match than we'd expected, but of course, I gotta say, Piece of Cake just didn't really look as well practiced on this particular map when compared to their opposition.
Here's a play from Onigod too, and it's just look at the multiple angles that they're taking and how it just can't be covered by that Reinhardt at all. I mean, what can you do in that situation where you're having the Widow, the Hanzo, the Tracer? It's just rough to deal with.
Alright, so we'll be moving on to a short commercial break, but we'll be right back with the next map. Stay tuned.
We are back once again at the analysis desk. Now, Branch, it does seem that Angry Titans are still on fire, so to say.
Definitely, they seem angry, they seem vicious and take that first win on the board, and so far looking on a different level compared to their opposition. But you gotta question Piece of Cake's preparation on that particular map, because overall they either swapped too late or didn't really have the right comp, it seemed.
They lost a lot of time on the first objective. They were unable to break it, and on the second point, they couldn't.
Eventually did it.
Yeah, they were unable to break it in a good time. That's what I meant. And on the second point, they couldn't get the high ground, and that allowed Angry Titans to defend the point. Now, what do you think about the quad tank setup and how Angry Titans dealt with it?
So far, it really seemed like Angry Titans were not only ready for it, but also sticked to their initial strat with Hanzo. I would have expected Erky potentially to swap to Junkrat. No, didn't even need it. Got multiple potential good outcomes out of the Dragon Strike too.
Yeah, also AFox was getting some great kills with the Widowmaker, which allowed them to basically push the payload further on the second point. And they had like 3 minutes later on into the round that they finished the match, and that's what they did. Now, coming into the Hanamura, do you think we are going to see yet another dominant performance by Angry Titans?
It's tough to tell, but it seems like the teams are ready, so we're gonna head into the match.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hanamura on board here, and we haven't seen either of these teams, despite seeing them both on 2CP yesterday. This is the assault map that neither one has seen so far, so we're gonna have to see how they want to play it out. I imagine, though, that both teams are gonna want to play dive on both sides, especially the case of Piece of Cake. You know, the big thing here is that I think Piece of Cake operates better as a dive. What we saw yesterday was that they just were a lot more efficient than what we experienced just before on Junkertown with that tank strat. I think Pulpy Fresh needs to be on the Tracer if they want to have the best outcome available, and they really need to start bringing that Mercy back out. Right now, Drijo is on the the Moira. I imagine he's going to switch to the Mercy here.
Most likely. I would expect that to be the particular choice for him, but over on the defensive side, for the lineup of Angry Titans, nothing too surprising as said. Dive is definitely the name of the game for the most part, but it will be interesting to see how Angry Titans play around it because, as said, they've just been priding themselves as being one of the strongest counter dive teams right now.
It looked pretty good for their defense. They just didn't give them enough time, give themselves enough time on Junkertown after that disappointing first point. But now as they push in, again, that counter dive defense for Angry Titans, they're just going to let them in. They're going to take high ground here. Piece of Cake going forward, trying to get their soldier into position, and they will do just that.
But the dive will commence. However, Lozish not really going to contest the point. Elivo's going to get desuited, and as a result, it's first blood going over in favor of Piece of Cake as they're going to look to collapse onto the point. Really nice approach by them coming into Hanamura.
And this is an excellent opportunity for Pulpy Fresh to start showing off one more time. Lulzish under fire, forced to put down his barrier. Not in a really great position either. And a nice stick coming out from Pulpy Fresh. Actually, I thought he stuck it to the Mercy, but that somehow went over to the Zenyatta, found that kill. Nonetheless, still a great secure. And now moving into the second point, they still have this soldier. He didn't get a lot of ult charge in that fight. You would like to see the tack visor in order to create a lot of momentum and just steal this next one away. With a pretty big snowball, but Erky now making the swap, so we will see that soldier versus soldier that we've seen a couple of times as well, especially on Nepal yesterday.
But considering the fact that they do have the Valk available on the lineup of Piece of Cake, we definitely want to see him make the most of it and get that snowball rolling. So they secure this one as quick as possible, but now that they're going to be contested off onto the high ground, they will manage to actually fall to Onigod. As Marine Lord wasn't quite there, the Resurrect is going to get him back up, but Poppy Fresh all by loads himself off onto the side.
Pulpy Fresh really did a good job actually right there. Not only did he bring everybody off of that high ground to help out AFox, who was under duress at the time, but gave his team ample time to just go up and get into position. He found that first pick as well onto the soldier. This is huge for them.
Oh, very nicely done. Gets the Siki on top of that as well onto Naga. AFox will go down, but that's a whole Piece of Cake gets, and as a result, no tick achieved. And overall, at the very least, for the side of Piece of Cake, they still have a lot of ultimates to work with.
Great counter from Angry Titans as they were almost taken advantage of just for a moment there by Pulpy Fresh, but able to go ahead and regain that footing and get their composure back together. Now looking, I mean, here's the thing. When you look at it, we saw the tack visor already pulled out from Naga. They're going to go forward, and they're once again on this high ground, putting their soldier in a fantastic spot. But now they have to start finding these kills, and ooh, this could actually, I don't know how that didn't kill. I don't know how that didn't kill him. Green
But
Lord.
both Mercy's gonna go down. Is not gonna be looking good for a piece of cake as the defensive spawn, or respawn rather, will come out on top. But as I say that, the ultimates are still flying away, and they do achieve that first tick, rapidly approaching the second tick. They need to get on this point. Odegaard now finally with the respawn. Alongside that, Mini Diva on Elivot will go down, but with a recall finally be expended. The second tick will go through. Can they snowball this to a third one?
They have to kill Ludi here. They got him pretty quick. Now it's just dealing with supports, just killing off whoever comes out of spawn. And I mean, over time, these respawn times are going to take a lot longer, especially if they keep more people on the point. Naga falling back, trying to deal with this tank here. Lolzish going to go down as Elifot is about to lose his mech as well. They're surging back to the point, but the attack visor comes out. This should surely equal a cleanup here for a piece of cake, especially as they're so safe inside of this Transcendence. They will mop this up as soon as they kill the May, but he's going to buy a little bit of time, and that's not going to be enough. 420, the time bank for a piece of cake as they take it. And I really like that swap, actually, from Drijo. We saw how they've been affected negatively in the past by not having a Mercy, but when he made that swap to come back over to the point, I think that was a big, big swap for them. I think that was pivotal for them to be able to hold on to that and keep up everybody very healthy on that point, keep the control on the point as well to slow those respawn timers down.
For sure, and we did see Odegaard off into that Tracer 1v1 with Popperfish doing their own thing at certain points. Overall, though, really nicely done by Piece of Cake. After losing the first engage, coming into the second point, Marine Lord being the first one to pop Transcendence, didn't really come out to their advantage. But at the very least, I like the fact that they played it patiently, waited until they basically just don't overcommit in terms of that ult economy, and make sure they get the snowball win in the end. So now that we're going to be swapping over sides once more, I would expect to see Naga on that soldier, set up on high ground, so just so that Angry Titans don't basically copy their exact strat to achieve a potential first point cap.
And this is going to be the tough map, I think, for Angry Titans. I mean, going into this, knowing that you have to play against the dive, knowing that you have Ludi on the Mercy instead of where he really shines on the on the Lucio, excuse me, where control will become obviously a big effect. And now going into this map here, they've already suffered a little bit of a blow, 420 being a pretty solid time bank to work with. Going into the next round of play, should it get there. So now you have to really kind of lean on Urki and Odegaard a little bit. You have to, pray and hope that Odegaard just starts popping heads off like crazy so that he can get into position on point B, and you can take that rapidly as much as a Piece of Cake was able to do just before.
And we'll see them set up over onto the right side, getting also close to that chokehold rather, as Urki is gonna scout ahead. Does have that Harmony Orb on top of him, so we will be able to stay safe. Spots out Lulzish actually, as he will try to, or rather Chubbs, apologies, so he will try to go off from the side. A little bit of split aggression, if you will, coming out of the side of Angry Titans, as they will slowly make their way onto the point.
I like the way that they're holding here on Angry Titans here, because they're giving a lot of space to Odegaard to start making some picks, start putting some damage out. Look how they all have them packed tightly into that corner over there, as Odegaard is going to fall back as he's forced down by by Marine Lord rather, but they're doing a good job of dealing with him, denying the sight lines, but over time, Odegaard should be able to get that infra sight up and start making some plays.
And some really nice positioning coming out of Popperfish as well, making sure he doesn't let the opposition even take one single tick. But as the ultimates are going to be starting to pop out, Urki's going to be the first one to fall, and as a result, since he's a little bit out of position, it will force Luda to use that Valkyrie, make sure he gets him back up, but maybe popping that Valk a little too early for their liking. Oh, never mind. He gets a kill with a pulse bomb onto that support, forcing Drijo to get him back up. Krems to kill Elivot as well. Things are starting to look better and better for this side of Piece of Cake, but still, the answering kills are coming through by Angry Titans, and they do have the respawn slide advantage.
Now they really need to play a little bit slow, stay alive inside of this Transcendence. Marine Lord does drop out of it. This is the big opportunity now for Angry Titans. You need to go on the aggressive here. You need to make sure that you stay inside the Transcendence for AFOX should you need it, and ideally you don't even want to pop it. They don't have to. They will take that first point, and look at what they have now to go into second. They have the infra sight so they can see the setup for the defense. They can execute and really kind of punish wherever they're going to be setting up, because they are both obviously running the dive. If you jump on those tanks, they're not going to be able to counter as well. And now they have the Transcendence to back it up. They have the spacing required to just really kind of push out some big damage and Pulse Bomb to shut down those supports potentially.
We might just see them just straight up run over to the point. As said, AFox having that Transcendence is going to enable them potentially to use this stat, but the Pulse Bomb will force out the Transcendence a little bit early, as now we will see the Tech Visor coming out of Naga. Marine Lord picks up Odegaard. Oh man, it's pretty much a bloodbath, but somehow, some way, piece of cake still find the kills they need. Krems, though, getting desuited as well is going to make it a little bit more difficult. Poppy Fresh picking up Lozish there in the loaded with a slow res onto Lozish. We'll get that big chunky HP onto the battlefield once more, but Poppy Fresh still popping off on this Tracer.
I'm curious what Odegaard is doing. I mean, obviously he's waiting for his team. I think he's just making a little joke here, going over to the Torbjorn for a second while the rest of his team is making swaps. So he's going to go over to the Tracer, and now we're seeing them go with a very classic dive setup with Tracer Genji alongside the very aggressive tank lineup of Winston and D.Va as well. And now we do see as well the Valkyrie ready for Ludi. Transcendence ready for Marine Lord, and Dredro should have his Valkyrie pretty soon, so this should be a pretty stale push, I would say, for Angry Titans, just trying to get out some damage, maybe find some early picks, try to get their old economy up again. I don't imagine they're going to be able to take it off of this one.
We'll find out soon enough, as Poppy Fresh will pick up the first frag of this particular team fight, making it a 6v5. Of course, Lude could potentially go for the rest, but as seeing that he's actually onto the point, it's too much of a dangerous position, and Poppy Fresh picks up another one onto Lude. And the most important thing for this lineup of Piece of Cake is the fact they didn't really have to commit any ultimates outside of that Pulse Bomb, and we know how fast somebody like Poppy Fresh can charge it up.
Yeah, Poppy Fresh is a little scary on that Tracer from what we've seen so far, but here's the thing. Odegaard now has a job to do, and that job is find Marine Lord in the back, put some pressure on him. Ideally, you want to try to get him to pop that Transcendence early. What that's going to do is make it, or make Erky able to actually pull the blade out in a little moment's time here, because he is now at 56%. You want to be able to see that blade have the most effectiveness that it could possibly have on this point to just light the back line up when it's possible. So they're going to dive on it. They're going to force this Transcendence more than likely. He doesn't even pop it, though. He just dies.
That's not going to be looking good, but Dredro now with the Valk will manage to stay alive, potentially going for the Resurrect. Doesn't opt in just yet, but as you said, Eric is good to go with the Blade. Will force out the Tech Flash as well, but Krems is the first target to go down. Dredro will get Krems back up when with the remake being there, he will be able to stay onto the point for a while longer. The AoE healing coming out of Mercy is going to make sure his team is still alive as Krems gets desuited once more. Erky back up, not really able to find too much success with the Blade. Doesn't even need it though, as Poppy Fresh will go down. Lozish will be the return kill coming out of Naga, but overall kills slightly in favor of Blue.
Outstanding play so far from Angry Titans to somehow hold on to this. We saw the self-destruct go out. It just cleared the point for them, as now Elevo getting very aggressive towards this D.Va who's trying to find these supports. Marine Lord found Erky. They don't have the res at the moment. It's in 2 seconds, but I don't know if they're going to be able to even get that off because Barrier is about to go down. We see AFox falling. I think this might be Angry Titans forced to fall back unless they can find these kills. A nice res coming out from Liddy there, who's unpunished somehow. Naga gets jumped on. He falls as well, and everybody else other than Poppy Fresh is in the spawn right now. They're going to start ticking forward. Marine Lord's going to fall as well as he gets jumped on pretty soon here, but somehow finds the kill onto Odegaard. What a right click from that guy.
And now Loaded, though, being able to stay alive means he does have the Valkyrie back up and online, and as a result, AoE healing is going to be good. Chubbs, though, still finding AFox with that Prime Wage is going to be a good kill. Poppy Fresh takes that engage onto Odegaard, but the Blade is coming out of Erky once again. Kills still pretty equal so far, but with the Transcendence coming out of AFox, this should potentially make it a good outcome for Angry Titans, as Olivod will be picking up Chubbs. Krems, the lone survivor, onto the point alongside Poppy Fresh now coming out of spawn. Self-destructs on both sides, but Olivod comes out on top.
Transcendence now just trying to stall for even longer. That's been the name of the game so far for these guys. They haven't looked like they were going to win the fight at all, but all they've been doing is just stalling out completely. We see a lot of control now going over to Angry Titans as they're going to start slowing those spawns even more now. And as it's contested, it should tick up, but they just have to get this D.Va desuited and out of the point, away from the point rather, as they're looking to hold on. But if somehow Angry Titans can't secure this fight, which it's looking like they will be able to do with these last 2 kills, then they're gonna, I don't know if they would have enough time to get back in here. Now finally, Grunge, a minute 7. What a stall. What a stall.
Really well played by Piece of Cake there, managing to stall it all the way with only 1 minute remaining, 1 minute and 7 seconds, apologies, remaining here for the side of Angry Titans. Things are looking definitely way better here coming into the second map for Piece of Cake, as we will see Angry Titans once again on the offense, and they definitely want to have a better approach this time around, make sure they lose way less time because they won't have as much in terms of that time resource to work with.
Naga going back over to that soldier, Puppy Fresh on the mainstay of Tracer. I really think that it's becoming wildly apparent at this point that as a dive, these guys are really strong. Everything else seems to be a little bit lacking, but they look really, really strong when they have that dive, and even on defense when they're counter diving and everything. Soldier is fine, but they really need to have Puppy Fresh on this Tracer. It seems like they kind of lean on that a little bit. Now, look at what we're seeing on the offense. Angry Titans switching it up, going over to that quad tank. And we've seen this before. Angry Titans defended against it on Junkertown. Now they're going to be attacking with it, and it'll be Piece of Cake's turn to answer the call.
And with 1 minute and 7 seconds left on that timer, they're probably, or rather most likely, going to just speed boost their way onto that objective as soon as possible, force as many mistakes out of Piece of Cake if they find any openings, and we'll see them not really expect potentially this particular approach, as they're going to try and set up off from the side. They're going to actually go ahead, speed boost, try to find a pick. The hook is going to find Naga, but he still manages to stay alive.
And we're seeing them sustaining quite well, but now it's going to be a little bit of a hunt rather for Chubbs. Urki taking some pressure, should be able to get himself back up rather quickly, rather easily. And now a D-Mech onto Crims. There's no protection now for Chubbs, who's already been under duress. He's just been getting whacked around left and right by this Reinhardt. Control easily in favor on the point for Angry Titans, as Puppy Fresh going to get taken down as well, and that's going to be the hero for Piece of Cake out of this particular play here, as now Naga trying to get back onto the point, and AFox will say no thank you, shut that down with a Coalescence.
And it was Lude picking up another boob kill, as he does on that particular hero. And with so many ultimates to work with as well, even though they have 30 seconds on that timer, they can very well still push and get that second objective, Hurix.
But they have to be very, very quick and very lethal with how they deal with this high ground. It's going to be on Elevote to try to deal with him. Soundbear going to give him enough time to get up there, but now Control going in favor of Angry Titans. They've already awarded themselves pretty close to that 33%, but they're going to be dying off rather quickly here, and this will spell a defeat. They will not be able to get anything going here because they don't have this Mercy. Only God wasn't able to get that Graviton out, and they won't be able to make it back from spawn. They have no reses because there's no Mercy, and overtime should tick down here, and they will be able to secure at least that first point, but they have to defend for 420, possibly even 450 here, Brunch, to be able to at least draw the map out.
And it's looking really good for Piece of Cake here, as I would expect them to run a very similar comp to what they did last time around. I wouldn't really see them pulling out the quad tank themselves. But if you are Angry Titans and you've shown your hand that you are willing to pull out that quad tank, do you think it has any chance of having better results on defense? Or rather, even better?
I don't know. The thing is when you know that you're going up against the potential of some long-range hit scan or even medium-range hit scan, it's pretty tough. So what we're going to see here from the defense is Angry Titans pulling out something a little bit different. They're going to be pulling the, I guess, could also be considered a standard comp in the current meta as well, where they're bringing out that tank line of Orisa and Roadhog. A lot of barrier pressure, a lot of really consistent damage against tanks, particularly Chubbs, especially if they can deal with Crims or pull him to the side or make him have to deal with someone else. Even if Onigod can get in the back line and turn Crims around, that'll be a big opening for them to deal with Chubbs. But they really have to be kind of quick about how they deal with the dive. If AFox takes too much pressure, or if for some reason Onigod dies out to a pick from Popey Fresh or even a right click from Marine Lord, Helix Rocket from Naga, then they're probably going to be losing this first point and forced to then defend for a very long period of time without giving away that first tick on point B.
We've seen how difficult that can really be, as Urki is going to try and spam those grenades away. Naga patiently waiting on top of that van, just dancing around. Will be pulled though! Very nice synergy coming out of Lolzish and Elevo there. The Orisa pull into the actual hook. Really well done to secure that first kill. And if you're the side of Piece of Cake, you don't want to mess around. You don't want to wait around too much and just really give out free advantages for the opposing team.
Elevote has been very efficient with those hooks so far. I mean, I don't know what his hook accuracy is, but I would imagine it's ridiculously high. Every time we've seen him on this particular character, he's been lights out so far. Now the aggression comes. We see Naga on the Pharah. This is really working well for them so far as he takes out the support there in AFox. Luddy under pressure a little bit here now as Naga looks for that one. But look at how quickly he's been able to get this barrage up. It's pretty much ready to go. It is ready to go.
And he will go ahead and rain down justice as Elevote will be going down as well as Losish, and with no resurrect available for Luda as well, he will go down. AFox picks up Marine Lord at the very least, but this is going to be it. Objective obtained by Piece of Cake, and they have so much time to work with here.
And now Naga's gonna whoa, he's not swapping. He was looking like he was gonna take it for a moment there, but then Mercy came over and he's like, nah, don't switch, dog. Don't do that. So he's not going to do that at all. He's going to stick with it. And
the dream team, the duo.
He's like, nah, keep me safe in the air, man. I don't want to have to deal with this ground game. So he's going to go ahead. He's going to stick to it. And now Chubbs are going to look to try to jump right on top of Urki. They've got him pretty low, but he's got a lot of damage to back them up with. Fresh very low. He actually winds up getting the kill onto Urki. The res is going to come off, but I imagine Moody was going to fall, but he's able to stay safe, get back over to that invulnerability window inside the base. Naga still pushing out the pressure here. Transcendence forced out by AFox. They have to make this hold. It's already at about 20%.
Oh, it's rapidly approaching that first tick mark as Luda will just go ahead, pop that Valkyrie just to make sure they stay alive and on to the point with AoE healing, but kills are still all in favor of Piece of Cake as they just need to finalize these 2 kills. Onigod going down, and now Luda is going to desperately try to stay alive as long as possible. Isn't successful, and Piece of Cake equalizes it 1-1.
What a fantastic stall to just make that happen. I mean, if they hadn't installed that last fight out for what was, I think, about 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, this might have looked a lot different, because that stall was everything that everybody doesn't really like about 2CP when you're playing it, at least. It's insane to watch, to see how crazy these teams can just maintain their composure for so long. But man, is it just so frustrating to play against, and I'm sure they're feeling those sentiments right now.
And we'll find out who the victor will be after a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
It does indeed seem we are in for a treat, Brunch, as Piece of Cake manages to equalize the series. They did bring their A game into this one.
Most definitely, as they were able to pull out a heroic play in that particular stall. Not only that, they just really played out the map overall to a really good degree. And you got to give it to overall to all the different members. Marine Lord picking up a couple of kills here and there on the opposition when it comes to AFOX and other members like Onigod when he was trying to contest him over onto the second point. And just again, Naga on that soldier, making sure he stays on the high ground, get the kills he needs with the tech visor, and just plays it out in the end.
I'm actually surprised how Angry Titans managed to lose the second point that quick. That was a rather lackluster defense on their part.
It's what can really happen with these assault maps, honestly, just making sure that the offensive team, in this case of Piece of Cake, made the most out of their ultimate advantage so that they can snowball. That's just the way of the game when it comes to these particular maps.
Now coming into Nepal, we've seen Piece of Cake played yesterday and they played really good. Now we haven't seen Angry Titans on that map. Do you think that Piece of Cake has advantage coming into the last match?
It's going to be an interesting one. We've seen, especially on Village, Poppy Fresh and Naga really do well-coordinated assaults on the enemy team as they were going off from the different sides and split the attention, and as a result, really create enough space for their respective win.
It does seem we won't need to wait long for that one. I'm hearing that the match is live. Let's take it away.
Welcome back, everybody. We're into Nepal here, as they were just talking about on the desk, and I'm back with Brunch, who quickly shuffled his way over to the caster section of the room. But how you doing?
Too fast.
Welcome back.
I'm
So
good.
as we're
I'm
ready-
good. Thank you.
All right, that's good. But as we're ready to jump into this one, we're definitely looking at Ludi here. You know, he is going to be, at least currently, on this Mercy, although he is going to swap to the Lucio. I'm not sure if he's going to stick with this or if he's just jumping around the base right now. That could easily be the case. But if we do see some of these maps where I think Lucio has that boot potential, I imagine they might swap things around, bring AFOX over to that Mercy, but at the moment they're not swapping him just yet. He is moving around, so they're not going with the Mercy. They're gonna, oh, he's just giving the speed boost. Okay. I'm insane. He's just giving the speed boost. He's gonna go over to Mercy. I thought for a second we were gonna see it because I imagine they want to bring him out on the Lucio on some of these maps with some boot potential, but nonetheless, he's sticking to the Mercy. We're seeing Naga over here on the soldier, and this is something we saw yesterday, and we do see the Genji actually coming out from Angry Titans, who's going to be very aggressive. So look to see Angry Titans being very aggressive. Look to see a counter dive, of course, coming from Piece of Cake, as talked about. They really like that counter dive strategy, especially on a control map like this.
And we'll see so far nobody really going down, but at the very least now Poppy Fresh does find that particular def, and Marine Lord picking up Lulzish is at the very least gonna equalize things 5-5. No Resurrect's gonna come through just yet. Potentially those bodies being in unfavorable positions for the Mercies to go in and resurrect, and Naga finds Erky with the Helix.
Really good stuff, just pulling those tanks off of them when they got aggressive. Again, because of the composition we're seeing from Angry Titans, they're going to want to start that push. They don't want to give too much space to Naga to just really start tearing down their tanks, particularly Winston. And because of that, all really Piece of Cake has to do is just sit there, wait, be patient. As soon as those tanks dive in, jump on top of them, put the pressure down, create some extra space from Naga, get in front of those tanks like Lulzish and Elevote so that he's protected, and that's so your supports are also simultaneously protected. It was a very good display. They were able to get a couple of kills there lined up, and Puppy Fresh pretty close now to having that pulse bomb one more time.
But Onigod is gonna be the first one to go down. Naga on point with those helixes, but he will go down to Erky's Dragon Blade. Lude will bring back up Onigod. However, with both DPSs going down, that will force both Resurrects, and Naga still finding those kills alongside Poppy Fresh as Erky is gonna try and equalize things around, but Dridro, having the Valk of his own, is gonna make another successful defense for Piece of Cake.
AFOX now supported by Elevo, but not really giving him much support and turn, and they're gonna just take a deep plunge off the map, go off and go for a little bit of a ski, I think, over here on the high mountains of Nepal, but he already did commit. Oh, that was a nice entry pick, actually, as Onigod has just decided to take the rest of these guys on from Piece of Cake on his own. Gets that health pack, goes away, allows his team to actually get control of the point in the meantime. Recall forced out now for Onigod, so he's just going to go back over to the point, but he doesn't have any ability to get away from Naga, who's now under duress, taken away from the fight. Transcendence comes out, but it's not going to save him, obviously.
Krems finds a really good pick onto Lude with that self-destruct, and as a result, kills are all in favor of Piece of Cake, as they will get really close to approaching that full cap onto the point. 95% right now, and even with Dridro going down, Elivov is the sole survivor on the point, and as a result, even with overtime kicking in, this should be Piece of Cake's map to win.
Piece of Cake easily claiming this one, it seems. What a stick from Popey. Oh, he actually didn't. It looked like it stuck him, but I think the Primal Rage just, I don't know. He must have got that leap in just in time, but Lulz is just bouncing around the point, and I don't know if that's really going to do anything for him. Elivote might make it back in time, but not going to be the case. They secure it 100-0 here is the first round on Nepal. And we'll have to see what we see next, because on Village, we saw a little bit of a hiccup yesterday against Eagle Gaming, especially as Eagle Gaming brought out that 4-tank strat. Naga looked pretty good, was able to get a lot of ult charge on that one, but we'll have to see if we see a little bit of a swap up here, and it seems like that strat is coming to life, as Onigod is going to make that swap as well. So now Naga, a second opportunity to face down that same composition that we saw Eagle Gaming able to secure 98 points on.
And it did work out yesterday in the end, even though it was they did have a little bit of a hiccup, as you said. Again, a win is a win, and if they can somehow still recreate that success, I think it could definitely be the right choice. As I really just touched upon it previously, I think that this coordinated multiple front assault, if you will, coming out of Piece of Cake with Naga and Poppy Fresh, really enables that team to come out on top when it comes to this particular point.
The big thing here is that because they're just poking, these supports are going to get a lot of ult charge. Nice first kill onto Chubbs. That's going to force the res out from Dridro. He does indeed get it, but now Naga needs to start getting those sightlines. Need to start putting that damage into the tanks, but looking for the supports. He's got them backed into a corner. They're all stuck there.
When with already 91% on that charge, he might just use that ultimate relatively soon, but the tanks are there ready. However, Poppy Fresh takes down Urki. Coalescence gonna come out. First point cap did go over in favor of Angry Titans, as they will try to, at the very least, keep a hold of this point.
Backing Naga out as well. That was a big hook, this time from Urki. You saw it a lot of times from Elivote before, but now it's gonna be a little bit of a swap up, as Elivote, of course, the main diva player for these guys, and really kind of taking away a lot of that pressure from Naga so far. He was able to get that barrage up, but just denied. And now we see Ludi, who did die off in that last fight. He is going to have that sound berry because of it.
And we'll see if it's going to be enough to hold on this particular offense coming out of Piece of Cake, as it will try to find the backline. Doesn't get too successful. At the very least, force out the sound barrier, as Apox takes down Marie Lorne. Definitely a really good pick. Resurrect could be available, but Dridro is actually going to go down to Urki, and Apox will be the return kill coming out of Naga, but this should be it. Angry Titans with another successful hold.
Much better.
And now they also have a potential combo. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work out for them. They have to really rip down the barrier, but if they do wind up catching everybody in this Graviton, they could send the self-destruct inside of it, and then if they rip the barrier down from Chubbs, there won't be really anything to protect against it. So we'll have to see if they catch everybody. It will kill them inside of a Transcendence, as well as it's one shot, so if we do see that Transcendence popped because of it, then they can still find those kills.
Oh, but the Graviton just managed to find Dridro as well in the end. However, the kills are not going to be there quite yet, and as a result, it's somewhat of a stalemate, as Naga tries to make a difference here, takes down Urki, and will try to get another one onto Ludi. Gets actually killed by Krems with that with those jets, and now Earthshatter is going to try and find some more space here, as Marine Lore is going to go down. Only one support left, but kills are still good for a Piece of Cake, but 97% already built up for Angry Titans.
I really would have liked to see Lulzich hold on to that Earthshatter. I think going back into this next fight, as Ludi can get some kind of exit healing as all these tanks are pulling out, they will have Sound Barrier to engage with. If they had the ability to rip down the barrier, which they weren't able to do inside the Graviton to secure the kills out the self-destruct, as I was talking about before, then they would have a big opportunity, a huge opening to throw down an Earthshatter and maybe take some kills to start this next fight and easily secure this second round here.
Self-destruct actually coming through from Piece of Cake, but they're still gonna be up from the point, and it's gonna go over in favor of Angry Titans. Now at 99% still, Coalesce is gonna be popped. Naga did go down to Elivote, but still overall kills slightly in favor of Piece of Cake, as Naga will be resurrected back up by Dridro, and still trying to find their way onto the point. Urki though, as well as Lulz, is good to go with their ultimates, and now with Earthshatter hitting Chubbs, this should be the secure and the potential point win, but somehow, some way, Piece of Cake still fighting.
they are able to flip it back in their favor, but that was still a very big fight for Angry Titans. Just another situation where, you know, Lolzis pulls out the Earth Shatter, but there just wasn't enough follow-up there to actually secure anything off of it. And now we see the Pulse Bomb saving the day from Poppy Fresh. Another heroic moment for this guy, for Piece of Cake. Now, looking at this next fight, both supports pretty close here, Ludi and AFOX, to getting both their ultimates. That's going to be very pivotal in this, especially as we see Coalescence ready pretty soon. That's a big one for Graviton that'll come down. If they can stay alive from Naga, but Ludi goes down. No sound barrier available now.
And that could be the huge pick that we're looking for, as kills overall still favorable. But Graviton is finally going to come out, and the overtime is going to push through. No member on the point just yet. Chubbs is just going to rush through. And as a result, being a little bit out of position, this should be Angry Titans somehow still coming out on top, potentially, as they did once again just leave the point and make it easy for Angry Titans to pick it up.
Oh, and just as we saw Chubbs trying to get onto the point, he was jumping, and in mid-air, Lolzis lands the Earth Shatter, sees it coming, lands the Earth Shatter, and he actually loses a little bit of his momentum, his turning power on that Winston in mid-air that you get, and wasn't able to get back onto the point. I don't think it really would have amounted to anything anyways, but still, really clutch play there from Lolzis, who missed out on a couple of opportunities, rather, with the Earth Shatter before. Makes a big play there. Now, over to Sanctum. Remember here, this is 1-1 in a best of 3, tied up on a map that's 1-1, best of 3. So this one will secure it. This is a big moment here on Sanctum, and a big opportunity for Naga and Popifresh to make some plays to go ahead and take this game once more. They took it in open division, but now with Ludi over on the Lucio, it's a little bit different than the game they had against this team from Angry Titans, where they had Immortal playing just before.
And it is a triple tank composition for the side of Angry Titans, whereas Piece of Cake can opt in for something a little different this time around. Naga will be picking up, of course, that Junkrat already at 62% towards that ult charge, rapidly gaining that Riptire coming into his next team fight. But if you look at the side of AFOX, he has Coalescence ready to go soon enough, but Krems picking up Onigod is going to be huge.
Oh, expect that to come out very soon, and there it is, indeed, Coalescence. But they find the kill. Naga with a huge pick coming from those grenades that he's just slinging out. The Riptire does take the does take the projected barrier away from Elevote there, but still they find the kills, they secure them, and now they will secure the objective along with it. Krems coming back from respawn, but Naga was the man of that fight there.
And now Poppy Fresh good to go with the Pulse Bomb, will be lying in wait off onto the side, looking for those targets. Does get spotted out, and as a result, forced to disengage, go back towards his team, as the rest of the Angry Titans lineup will just rush around onto the point. They go for the hook. Urki picks up Naga, and that could be enough to turn it around, but Elivote will go down. Chubbs picking up a good return kill.
And that was big, pulling Elivote off the map there. Urki now getting thrown off the map as well. Chubbs really saving the day for these guys so far, giving space to Krems to work with as he finds that last kill onto AFOX, and Elivote now making a swap off of the Zarya. He wasn't able to really get much work done so far, and they're going to go ahead and say, we need to switch things up now. We need to go over to this dive. We need to be aggressive. We need to start denying Naga, start denying Krems, and get away from Chubbs to some degree, but they have a lot to work with here. Transcendence ready. We will see the Valk more than likely in this fight as well. The Tac Visor is a big one here.
We will have to see Onigod potentially get a first pick onto that Zenyatta, so Transcendence out of the question, but already things are looking good for Piece of Cake, as they should be taking this team fight once more. Marine Lord did go down. Transcendence, however, was not used, and as a result, they will have those extra resources good to go coming to the next team fight. And for the side of Angry Titans, they have only 1 or 2 fights left in them.
Now Onigod needs to really kind of put some pressure down on this backline here. Transcendence and Valkyrie ready for Piece of Cake, as they're holding out so well at the moment. This could easily be a 100-0 given what we've seen so far. If Piece of Cake can hold out, keep their backline safe with this Transcendence up, I imagine it should be pretty easy. And the Riptire comes out as well. Look to see if he finds any picks off the backside of this point.
He looks for it, doesn't find a fake, finally finds Lude. Great pickup, but Onigod still answering with 2. Maybe the hero play that you were talking about is going to finally go through. Krems though gets the D-suit, however, it's all blue in favor on the point, and we still have a match on our hands.
Only God really could have just closed that out right there. Erky luckily saves it for him, but he just missed the spacing on the blink to get that blink hit off the melee to finish the job on Krims. Krims gets the major health pack and then goes ahead and turns around and just instants Onigod down. But Onigod back into the fray now, and he will have his pulse bomb available, but what an uphill battle they face here, as it's now 18% to 99. They cannot lose a single fight if they want to be able to hold this out and take this map and the round with it.
But they do have a lot of ultimates at the ready, and if they don't overcommit, that could be huge. And Onigod picks up a huge double pulse bomb kill. Speaking of such matters, and Poppy Fresh will just go ahead and reset, as they will have a lot of time still to work with, but it's ticking, and again, so many ultimates lit up for the side of Angry Titans. They might turn it around.
And this is one of those things where it becomes very dangerous for a team coming back, because, you know, obviously the mood is tense. You need to be able to take this one to be able to win the game here in the group stage, so you can get that win under your belt. But you know, you already have 99%. Sometimes teams get a little bit too aggressive here and just start losing fights left and right. So you need to kind of slow down the pace a little bit, start getting that counter dive going that you are good at. That's Piece of Cake's name of the game. They want to play that right now.
And Afox going down is going to be huge. Poppy Fresh really finding the prime target there with the pulse bomb. One return kill coming out of Onigod. The blade coming out to play by Erky. He needs to get something done with it, as Poppy Fresh still finds him in the end. And overall, things are looking better and better for Piece of Cake. But coming in from spawn, Afox will slowly get there. But still, Piece of Cake get it. They get the kills. This should be the turnaround. And with 99%, overtime kicks in. Afox should somehow maybe find his way on the point. No, it's not gonna be it. And Piece of Cake take the win, recreate their success, and lead the group.
And what a similar performance too to the Open Division. I know we didn't really get to see that as an Open Division. You know, you don't get to see those matches, but that was 2-3 in favor of Piece of Cake. A really close one to end, I believe, actually on a control map as well. And here it is doing the same exact thing. Very, very close matchup between these two teams. And it just ends the same way as well.
And we'll be moving on to a 10-minute break, but stay tuned because we have those guys coming up versus Eagle game. It's going to be an interesting one and a really good test for both of these teams, so stay tuned.